It's been 5 months since I bought these succulents, and today is the part 2 of the video I did back then when I received them. So they were completely unrooted, so this is just an update to show what they've done, what I do to get them to root, and just a little update really on how they're getting on. So yeah, if you would like to see the video for the part 1, I'll just link it above. So check that out. I'm just eating my hair. Check that out and then have a watch of this one. It's quite interesting to see what's happened with them and the differences in the roots and things, but they're now settling in really nicely and they are beautiful. So let's start with these two beauties. So these are the really chunky ones, and they had really long stems. They were huge, so we gave them a really good chop, and I just wanted to show you the results. So as you can see, we've got some really good roots growing on this one. We've got roots growing from both sides. We've got this one and this one, so that's really good. I probably would need a little bit more to be able to pot it on, but we can work with that. It's really good progress, so I think I might just leave that one in there as it is. The colours of it are showing up really beautifully today in the lighting. So yeah, I'm going to leave that one just to grow a little bit more, and then this one has also got some really good roots. So it's a hard decision. What should we do? Maybe I will pot them up actually, because the roots have grown and it will encourage a little bit more root growth as long as the soil is nice and dry. To be honest, it's now where are we, 24 degrees at the minute in here, so it's lovely and warm, so it doesn't matter if the soil is a little bit damp. So yeah, I think I will put these on actually. The roots on that one seem, are they longer? Let's have a competition. Yeah, they're a little bit longer on that one, but they've got more places on that one. So yeah, really happy with them. That's exactly what I wanted to see. So brilliant. And the next update is on these two. So it doesn't look like these have done as well. So these are ones I made a little bit of a mistake with, and I put them in some kind of dampish soil, and they've not really rooted much. They did have some funny leaves. This one had a funny leaf on it when it came, so looks a little bit, something's happened there. So what I'm going to do is actually chop away a little bit more and just check that there's no rot in there or anything. And the same with this one. We've really not got any new roots at all, which is unfortunate, and we've had a few leaves fall off, which normally isn't a very good sign, but there's no black on it at all. So yeah, I'm just going to cut a little bit more off, and hopefully that will kind of give it a little bit of encouragement to root on and yeah, settle into its new home. So this seems very roofless, but we are going to use these and give it a really good chop. So the stem is really nice and fresh. There's no issues in there. I will just take a little bit more off because I want it to be as close to the head as possible, just because the energy of the plant is coming from here. So the closer the stem is to the head, the more likely and quicker the roots will grow. So that's that one. I'm going to kind of repeat the process and let it callus over again, and then hopefully I can show you some really good improvements. But such a beautiful plant, looks great. Just need it to do its thing now. So this one, yeah, looks a bit fluffy, doesn't it? So let's do the same. That's nice and green. Okay, so we'll let them kind of callus over. I might just get a smaller pot for that one. Got the cutest little pot there. So small. And that can just sit there. And this little leaf that's fallen off, you never know, it might propagate and give me a little pup. Be positive with these things. So those two are going to kind of go back to square one and see if they can root and settle in. And finally, we've got this frilly beauty. So this one I did pop in some soil. So let's have a look. Okay, so it's got some nice fresh roots growing actually. You can see all those nice new white roots are growing really nicely. And what the succulents do is use these bottom leaves as energy to create these new roots. So if they are completely crispy, I would just remove those leaves because they're not going to be able to do anything else for this plant. So they can come away because they attract pests. and they also hinder airflow in the plant, so you can remove them. This one, it's got a tiny bit more left in it. It's not as crispy as the other, so I'm going to leave that one. But yeah, it's rooting nicely. It's obviously just been taken out of the soil because I like to interfere. But it's really good to check, you know, it's not a bad thing. It's nice to check and make sure they are growing as they should be and there's no problems. So I'm going to pot that back into the soil and just let the roots kind of continue in there, and then pot on the first two. So I've just mixed together some substrate which I use. This is what I make myself. This is just compost and horticultural grit. I do a 50-50 mixture just to make sure the soil is really well draining and the water can flow through really freely, because obviously the biggest death or killer in succulents is rotting, and rotting really comes from what kind of substrate the succulent is sitting in. So if it's too wet and the roots are sitting in that for too long, that's what can cause root rot, which obviously spreads into your plant and rots the whole thing. So yeah, a really well draining mixture is the best. So as mentioned, I was a bit indecisive what to do with these, but I think I'm happy with the size of the roots to pot them on now into some soil. They're quite long, they're growing from a few different places, so yeah, I think it's time for them to kind of get some nutrients from the soil and start to settle in. So I'm just going to use these really small pots. They are, if I can get this one off there, like probably too big for the actual plant, but because there is no root system, they are kind of the perfect size. They're not going to get lost in there. It's kind of, yeah, perfect match for these at the minute. Obviously once they're fully rooted in there, they can have quite a quick upgrade to a bigger pot. So let's just add some of this gritty mix into the pot. Kind of hard to do when you can't see, but I need to keep the roots in there and the stem in there, so it's kind of just try and put the substrate around it as much as possible. I do love these new pots, but the only thing is when you obviously drop soil on them, they get very dirty. So give them a little blow off there. So that is number one, potted up. So there we are. So I both potted on in a nice dry soil. It's very important that the soil is dry. Obviously they have got roots, so if they were really thirsty, it's possible to give them water. It's not probably my preferred option. I would rather wait until the roots are longer, but if you give the leaves a squeeze, they are absolutely solid. They're full of water and they do not need a drink. So you don't need to water succulents as soon as you get them and, you know, settle them in. I would just go by what the plant looks like, and as I say, this is extremely firm. So the water is stored in that leaf and it does not need any more. So yeah, I'm just going to let it continue to root. The bottom leaves are what it will use for energy to do so. So these will slowly deplete and will become really crispy, and you can then remove them once they are fully crispy and there's nothing left in them. So that's what they use to root, and yeah, they will then settle in nicely, hopefully. Wow, beautiful. The other ones I will probably give you an update in maybe a month's time, just to see where we are with those super bums, and the other ones obviously rooting already, so I can just check back and show you how the roots are getting on. So the clip you just saw was the 1st of April. It is now the 17th of June, so it's been quite a while. I had very slow progress on these little beauties. So yeah, it's only really been the last 3 weeks, I would say, that roots have started to appear. Obviously I did have to chop them again, so that could be something with the reason why. Obviously the roots have taken a lot longer, but yeah, they've just been really delayed. But finally we've got a really good root system coming, and really it's only been the last week that they've got this much as well. Like, they had kind of these little sprouts, so it's very, you know, small progress. And this one as well, I've had them on a low light level shelf, and yeah, they've just kind of been ignored really. I've just left them, and finally they've started to root. So I'm going to pot them up today with you and just explain the process now that it's kind of in the middle of the growing season. And I just want to give you an update of the other ones as well from the haul. So that's those two, and I don't know if you can see, but in here we've got the leaves that fell off. I was hoping they might propagate, but they are crispy and they are all shriveled up, so they are no good. And with this one, this leaf has gone all transparent and kind of wrinkled, so again that's not any good either. So I'm just going to let them grow and just not interfere with them. So we'll put them up shortly. I'm just going to put them to one side so they don't fall over. And then an update of the other one. So this Frilly Lowy, I believe it's called, is now starting to bloom, and look at those blooms. They are chunky and yeah, look really good. So again, I've kind of neglected this. I have recently changed my greenhouse to or not my greenhouse, my collection to mostly white pots, and I've nearly finished now. So as you can see, nearly everything is potted up in these lovely white pots. Still got some odds and bits around here, and some at the back. So these ones were just left at the back over here, kind of neglected. But yeah, I'm now going to change them over, so that means we can have a good look at the roots. And then we had these ones as well. So this one I've left in the pot that I potted up in the last clip, and as you can see, it's got a beautiful bloom. I've actually tried to pollinate this one, so I'm hoping that that is a success. I've never really done this type of plant before, I just never really understood it, but I'm doing a video of how to pollinate, so if that is something you want to see, please do subscribe and look out for that. But yeah, this one is really happy in here. It's rooted really well and really quickly, and it's got lots of new growth. The middle of that is just like a pastel perfection. It's beautiful. And the other one, I've actually put in an arrangement outside. Let me just show you. So I always experiment each year with outside arrangements and things, and yeah, I've got lots of different ones here, but I actually ended up putting one of them in here, and it's absolutely loving it. We've had loads of rain and loads of sun recently, so we've had like scorching hot weather and then downpours of rain, so my succulents outside are loving it because they get that really good drink and then they dry out really quickly. So it's been such good weather for succulents this kind of spring and the start of summer in the UK, so that's amazing. It's actually been probably a bit too hot for some succulents. I've had a lot of burns, but that's very unusual for this time of year. But yeah, I've got some lovely arrangements out here. I'm just getting sidetracked, but yeah, I was just going to show you the burnt one. So this burnt in March, which is insane, but it's grown out so much, so it just shows how much everything's growing quickly this year. So if anything's burnt, obviously if you can take leaves off, do, and if not, just let them grow out. It can kill them, but it's quite rare unless they are really scorched. But this one was kind of just on top of the leaves, so it's not too bad. So as per usual, that's me just getting sidetracked by beautiful succulents outside. So what we're going to do is just have a look at this one and repot it into one of the white pots. I'm really intrigued to see what the roots are doing. I know it has rooted a bit, but I'm not sure how much. But quite a lot of roots. It's not rooted down into the soil too much. I haven't really watered it. I think I've watered it once just to kind of encourage those roots to grow, which is fine to do in this season when it's really hot. But when I was originally filming, it was kind of the start of spring, so that would have been too early to give them water. So I'm just going to take these dead leaves off. If these leaves at the bottom, I've got a little bit life left in them, like this one, I'd leave it on because it is using the energy from these bottom ones to create these roots. So these ones are completely crispy and there's nothing left in them, so they can come off. And yeah, it's got a good root system, but I want it to grow a bit more. The problem is when they start blooming, they're using energy obviously to create those blooms, and they can't do energy kind of both ways, so that does slow the root system down. Sometimes it means that they don't grow roots at all when they're blooming, so you can chop the blooms down and let them root quicker. But I've heard this year, which is quite interesting, that a lot of people cut their succulent blooms off because they think it's kind of a waste of energy for the plant. But what people are now saying, or some research has been kind of shown, is that once the plant has produced those blooms, once they die off, the energy then is absorbed back into the plant. So some people are saying that it's actually beneficial to keep the blooms on, because then the plant will get the energy back once the blooms have finished. So that's really interesting. So this year and every year really, I keep my blooms unless they like die off or there's something wrong with the plant, because I like to try and pollinate them, and I really enjoy the blooms. I think they look great. So yeah, that's a little bit of information I've found this year. So it's time for a new pot. This mix is, I keep changing my mind on my mixes all the time. So this is now John Innes #2, some horticultural grit and a little bit of compost. I just found that, because I wanted to change over to complete compost, but I find that it's just so much bark and things in it which shouldn't be in there, and it's just not what it used to be, and it's not as good quality where I'm buying it from anyway. So yeah, I've kind of gone back to John Innes, which I said I was going to move away from, but I no longer use cat litter, which is the molar clay, because I wonder if, because what that's meant to do is the water is meant to absorb into that molar clay, which takes it away from the soil, but I wonder if that then sits against the roots and that can cause rot a little bit. So yeah, my theory is I'm going to stick with John Innes and just add a lot more grit to my mixes. So let's pop this back up, and then probably maybe about 5 days to a week I'm going to water this, because it is a little bit thirsty. If you squeeze the leaves, there is a little bit of give there. Actually, the top is quite firm, so it's not exactly needed, but I just want to encourage those roots to grow a bit more, and because it's so hot, I'm not worried about moisture getting in too much, so I'll probably just give it a little drip feed in, like I say, 5 days to a week. So I like to add in my lovely soil, and then I now add a top dressing to everything. I just think it looks so neat. It's obviously hard to see on something like this, which is taking up a lot of space in this pot. But yeah, it's nicer than seeing the soil, in my opinion. So that's what I've been doing this year, and I'm loving the look of them. So that one's done, all potted on, looking beautiful. And then with the two silver bums, I'm going to probably put them both in a small pot if they will fit. Let's have a look. Yeah, I'm going to do that because they don't need a huge pot at this stage. This is what I mean. So this is in the compost. What is that? Looks like a bit of sellotape plastic. Annoying. The succulents will not enjoy that. The only thing with John Innes is it gets really clumpy, so I do have to kind of get aggressive with it. So let's put in lovely fresh soil. Again, no, wood. I don't want wood. And these ones are not really thirsty. The leaves are quite plump still, so I'm not really wanting to give this any water until leaves are a bit more squidgy. They're still really firm. So I'm going to be mean with this one and make it wait even longer. Just as long as it's made me wait for the roots. It just obviously depends on the plant. I've had some which have taken, literally had a lowie which took 2 years, and that was only because I then chopped it again and again and again and water propped it. So that was how I managed to get that to root, and even now it's still not that well rooted in the soil. It's just got a few, so some of them just want to take some time. And I have heard that some don't root at all. It's just one of those things, I suppose. Right, they don't fit that well in there. I'm trying to make them look nice and pretty. Another stone or wood, not sure what that was. And I'm just going to add some grit around the edge. So this is quite good when you use this grit, because if you then repot, obviously you can use some of the old soil and the grit is then already present. So 2 birds, 1 stone. There's a lot of bugs around today, and I really do not appreciate bugs. I keep climbing on my legs and my arms. Right. I think that looks good. I love these ones. I really hope they grow nicely. This one's already repotted, so I'm just going to, I was going to check if that leaf needed to come off, and it just fell off in my hand, so that was the answer to that one. I'm just going to add a little bit of top dressing to it. And there we go. So that's those all potted on in some nice fresh soil and in a nice new pot, so they can be added to my collection. What I'm also doing this year is trying to take a photo of everything in my collection and then make kind of a catalogue, so I know exactly what I own, and then I know which ones are my favourites and which I want to propagate. So yeah, they can now be added to the catalogue, which is amazing. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that's been interesting for you, and I hope some of the tips and things that I've explained in this video can help you with your collection. If it's been interesting and you've enjoyed the video, please do subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate anyone who subscribes. It means absolute world to me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.